so much for coming on.
No worries.
I'm
so
so grateful.
That's okay.
We've literally been trying to do this.
I know. We're here. We're doing it.
It's
I'm locked
so
in.
funny because you were sick for so long and I was like, what is wrong with this? What is wrong? Like, she is ill.
Yeah, she's really ill. People were just like, what's wrong with you? Like guessing. And I did say a few times like glandular fever, but I was like, oh. And then I had a YouTube Q&A, like people being like, why'd you lie about getting a period? I was like, because you guys were catching on, so I had to throw you off.
That would have been, honestly, well, congrats first of
Thank
all.
you.
It's so exciting. But that would have been so weird being like, okay, I have to like hold this in.
Oh my God, it was the worst. And I'm like the biggest open book. So like to hold in that biggest secret ever, I was like, this sucks.
So
And
good.
because I was so sick, I couldn't just post as normal as I was working because I was on the couch 24/7.
Yeah.
So like it was pretty shit.
Yeah, it's a weird, like when you post your whole life online and you kind of feel like you have to post the good and then the bad. But then sometimes you just don't want to post the bad.
Yeah.
You obviously like don't.
Yeah.
Don't
And
wanna
it
do
was
too
so
much.
fresh. So I was like, I just don't want to share anything yet. And I thought about doing it and then I was like, oh, like I just probably not. And I'm glad I waited, but I was just like, I'm so open to sharing the bad and stuff and sharing just the raw, but not at that stage.
Well, we were shocked. I was blown away. I literally opened my phone and it was the first post up there. Tori's pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell? Definitely
so
not.
funny.
I wouldn't have expected it.
No one did. I didn't.
It's crazy. And I love that there's a few of your friends. There's, I don't know the names.
Taylor and Riley,
Yeah.
both pregnant. Crazy.
So crazy.
But
It's almost like I guess you probably were thinking about it. It was like fresh in the air.
I know. It's like, because Riley found out first and then a couple of weeks later it was Taylor and then probably a month later it was me. And it was just like, what do you mean? How does this happen? We've spoken about it, but like there's something you can't plan. Like you just never know. And so for it to happen, we were like, oh, like this is real.
I love
Even
that.
when we see each other, we're like, this still doesn't feel real.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
I have so many things I want to talk to you about today. And of course, I want to hear all about the pregnancy. But I do want to start with hearing about acrobat Tori.
Yeah.
Because this is originally why I wanted to get you on the podcast in the first place.
Before I was pregnant.
Before you were pregnant, before all of this other exciting stuff happened in your life. You were also going through a very exciting coming back into the sport. So I want to know about young acrobat Tori.
Okay.
Tell me about her. Tell me what she was like.
Okay, where do I even begin? Very active child, tried all sports. And honestly, mum just was like, how do I tire this kid out? I need to just get her to do everything. So she tried swimming, netball, basketball, everything, did gymnastics. And then one day we were all just walking the dog and 2 blocks back was like this acrobatics / taekwondo center. So we just inquired and then I literally went in the next day and fell in love. I was like, I'm doing this forever. And for those of you who don't know, acrobatics is like, it's a discipline of gymnastics. So the only apparatus we use is the floor, but we're in small groups. So you kind of can think of it as similar to cheerleading, but way more technical, smaller groups. Like I was either in a pair or a trio. And as far as you can go is like world championships, world games, which is like our Olympics, because that's every 4 years. And then eventually, hopefully, if you want to, go into Cirque du Soleil is kind of like the career path. So I got into it at 7 years old and like I said, fell in love very quickly grew to probably training 10, 15 hours a week at 7, 8 years old. And just, fell in love with the sport. It was a mixture of dance with gymnastics and I just loved performing. Like, I mean, now I have a podcast, I'm on social media. I love to have that kind of outlet. I very quickly grew to be my identity, to be honest. I sacrificed a lot for the sport and basically from ages 7 to 19 was all I wanted to do and all I did do. I went on my first overseas trip in 2011. We went and competed over in Switzerland. So that was the beginning of like, this sport can kind of take you across the world. You don't get paid a cent for it. My parents spent so much money on it as like bodybuilding is very expensive. My love for the sport just grew. I ended up quitting school in year 10 because I hated school. It just wasn't for me. And I knew my career path was going to be within the sport of some sort, whether that be performing, coaching, owning my own business, taking over the club that I trained at for years, was kind of where I was looking at originally. I guess fast forward to coming out of school was probably kind of when it started to get serious. I would have been, I think, 15. And and I started to start training for Worlds. I did miss the Worlds team in 2013. That was like my first ever trial for Junior Worlds, and we missed out by 0.01. So that was real tough. But that was the beginning of, I guess, learning setbacks. And actually, no, I take that back. My first setback was breaking my shoulder at 11. So I broke my shoulder at state championships at 11 years old or 10 years old. And that was huge. But I don't remember it being like, I never was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like the second I broke my arm and found out I had to have surgery, I was like, cool, like when can I get back to training? And it was just like, that's when my coaches were like, oh, she wants this, which was really cool to like witness at 10 years old, I guess. And every time the doctors were like, oh, it's probably going to be a 12-month recovery, I was back in, I think, 9 months. And then, we missed the world team then, and then started training again in 2016, I think it was. But my partner unfortunately quit right before. I did my shoulder again. I tore the same shoulder, so I had another surgery on that. And again, it was just like, how long do I have to have off? How can I beat this again? They told me 9 months. They told me 6 months. I was back in 3. And every obstacle was just like a little hurdle for me. Like I never let anything get in the way of the sport and what I wanted to do with it. And then from there, I just was so determined to get to Worlds. Like I was like, I need to experience this. And then right before my first like world trial where I thought, okay, I can make this, was when that partner quit. And then I just had a little feeling of like, maybe I'm not meant to do this as an athlete. Maybe I'm meant to do it as a coach, because I was kind of always a bit of a third coach in the gym. I tried to always give other athletes corrections and help and just like kind of be a mentor. I feel like I just always had that in me. And so I was like, maybe I'm just meant to be a coach. I love doing it. I coached since I was probably 12 years old at the gym. And I was like, oh, maybe that's the path. And then right as that was happening, my boyfriend at the time, he ended up taking a step back because he got injured. So then I got partnered with his partner, Caitlin, and we ended up training together, and we were like, right, we can still have time to qualify for Worlds. To qualify for Worlds, it's usually a 2-year process. Like usually you're training for a whole year, then it's qualifying year, then the following year at the start of the year is Worlds. We had 4 months to train, I'm pretty sure it was, to get all routines together, costumes, skills, and we were doing, there's like 3 junior levels, so it's all by age group, and we were doing the second highest, which is like the level before senior. So pretty intense, but she was insane, and like I said, I was ready to just push and do whatever I needed to. So we trained for that 4 months, had a qualification and qualified through to Worlds, and it was literally the best day of my life. It just was so surreal to like make it there. So we trained for another few months and then went over in 2018 to Belgium and competed at Worlds. The lead up was probably the hardest I've ever trained up until like my retirement. Like I've never pushed so hard in my life as a like teenager, I guess. And then went to Worlds. We actually went out for our first routine, felt so confident. Like we just wanted to go and have fun. We were actually aiming to podium. Like that was our initial goal, which is huge. I think Australia's gotten 1 medal in like 50 years. But I was like, you know what? We're aiming high. Like we're going to do it. And then we actually had a coach say, that's unrealistic. Like you're not going to achieve that. Basically, you should set your standards a little bit lower so you're not so disappointed. And we were kind of like, oh, that sucks, but like, you're probably right. So we ended up just going, okay, we want to make finals. And so we went out on the first day, dropped our first skill, and picked ourselves back off, finished the rest of the routine fine, but it was absolutely devastating. I remember calling one of my coaches back home because only one coach came with us, and she and I were on the phone for hours that night till probably 2 a.m, bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I've just ruined like everything that we've trained for. And we picked back up the next day and absolutely aced the next routine, which I was very proud of, and ended up making finals. We just slid in. And I feel like once we hit that finals, we were like, oh, we've achieved our goal. Let's just go have fun. Whereas both Caitlin and I always look back and go, if we had have kept that goal, we would have we might have trained a bit harder those couple days before finals. We might have pushed a bit harder because we had a time fault in that finals routine. And I'm like, oh, sometimes you just can't let people dictate your goals, because then you kind of underestimate yourself and what you can actually do. So that was a massive learning in that. But we came out and we were happy with what we did after everything. Like I said, we were together for maybe 6 months, and most people are 2 years before they compete at Worlds. So we were very proud, and we finished 8th in the world, which is still amazing. And basically from there came back home and we were like, right, what's next? We qualified for another spot into the 2019 World Cup in Vegas, and that was around the time I went through a massive transformation with diagnosed with PCOS, weight gain, acne began, went through a breakup with the boyfriend I mentioned before. So it was a very big and I just turned 18. There was a lot happening. So I went through a lot of mental health, anxiety, depression in that stage. And at that point, acro was the only thing really keeping me together. And then I also found out probably, I think it was 3 months before the World Cup, that I had stress fractures in my back. And every doctor and specialist I spoke to said, you are not to compete. Your risk of not walking again or having kids is really high. And you could imagine my whole world and dream had just been ripped apart. So I kind of just had to go inward and go what's really important to me. And obviously health is and always should come first. But I had just felt that I'd trained for so long with that pain prior to, and it was probably niggling for around a year, but no scans were picking anything up until that final scan. And I also had a tear in my hip, and every doctor was like, no, this, you need to stop. And obviously my parents were like, you need to stop and put your future first if you want to have a more of a future in the sport. So I kind of was like, I'm so close to the World Cup. And we had actually moved up to senior, which is the top level. And we're doing so well for the Australian standard. So I just was like, can I push through this next 3 months, modify as much as we can, drop skills back a little bit where we're still on value, still look impressive. And something in me just was like, you can do this. My parents did not agree. But of course supported me through it, much to their disgust. But I had my coaches and everyone on board to modify things, take training a little bit modified and lessen the load a little bit to protect the back. And we went over to Las Vegas, got sick. It was just a whole thing over there. But we actually came out with a silver medal at the World Cup, which was just I look back, it's probably the best memory I have in the sport, because going through all that hardship and trusting your body at that stage of 3 doctors and specialists saying you should not compete, to then go and get that medal sensibly, was just how did I do that kind of feeling. And I was just so proud of myself, my partner, Caitlin, our coaches, and grateful for my parents too, as much as it would have been hard to be 3 doctors telling your child not to compete and you're risking of walking and everything like that. But from that point, obviously I came home and I was like, I need to now focus on the back and actually heal that. So I did 3 months of very, very low intensity training until mental health just took a toll. Like I said, I was really struggling with weight gain, acne, and I just felt so lost, to be honest with you. And I ended up making the decision to take a step back from the sport with the intentions to fully just heal health, physically, mentally, emotionally, skin. I was not getting regular periods. It was just a massive thing. So I wanted to take a step back, which little did I know was going to lead into my retirement, because the following year COVID hit, everything shut down. And in one sense, it was a blessing because everyone was training so hard for 2020 Worlds, whereas I got to have that bit of time off and then it got shut down anyway. So I kind of protected myself, obviously, without knowing. And then it just kind of continued into... I went to go back and then COVID hit again. And then I met Jackson and I ended up moving to Adelaide. So I moved to Adelaide because that's where he was living. And I guess then my new life just started, to be honest. That was the middle of 2020 and he was a personal trainer at the time. And I say this all the time, but I hate it because it gives him a big head. But he honestly saved my life. The way he put his energy into helping me lose weight, fix my health, clear my skin, he just wanted to see me thrive, which I just felt after seeing doctor after doctor after doctor. No one gives you that energy, So to have someone who was really invested in me, not only a partner, but a friend and a PT to just be we got this. And yeah, I lost over 12 kilos in 12 months. Didn't fully heal my skin, but it was 10 times better. And I guess that was just the path of like my new life. And that was me really discovering Tori as without the acrobat, because I just had done it since I was 7. I quit school. I didn't go to like family functions, school events, because I wanted to give everything to the sport. My parents spent over $100,000 in like 8 years or something to help me achieve everything that I did. And so when like I kind of came to the conclusion that that was it, it was hard. And I think I like squashed a lot of it down for a long time, but I always had this hope in me that I could one day go back. And I guess life just kept going. I started a business teaching, so I really did still go into that career path. And that kind of fulfilled that little hole in me that couldn't compete anymore. And just making connection with kids and passing on not only everything I learned as an acrobat, but as a person, discipline, dedication, all the things. Mental health specifically was a big thing I taught. And then I ended up moving to the Gold Coast, and that's when I feel like my life really started again. I was building social media on the side, but when I moved to the Gold Coast, it got hacked. And that's kind of when I was like, I really want to pursue social media. And so I've pushed that so much since 2022 when I moved here to the Gold Coast. And I guess that was, the real, obviously moving to Adelaide was massive, but then moving to Queensland was just like a huge jump. I mean, you know, the lifestyle here is insane. And life just completely took off, and I found who I was without the acrobat, and I started building businesses and started a podcast and met like the most important people in my life up here. So it was definitely a roller coaster. But to land in the position that I was in Queensland prior to 2025 was just amazing. And I still had to heal and keep connections with people back home from my gym and things like that, because I've been with them since I was like 7 years old. So I went through all of that, and then the opportunity came back to go back in 2025 and compete again in the sport at 25, which I didn't think would happen. But as I said, I'd always dreamed of that happening, to kind of, I feel like you want to know when your time is up in the sport. You want to go out there knowing this is the last time. Well, for me, I did anyway. And a lot of athletes don't get to experience it. And I did kind of make peace with the fact that I was like, oh, I'm not going to have that moment, and that's okay. So when this opportunity came up, I was like, how can I miss this? Yeah. Obviously, Jackson and I, we've been together nearly 6 years, and we're on, you know, the path of wanting to have kids like in the future. And I knew that if I could have this one opportunity to go and compete one more time before I have kids, I would absolutely knock myself if I didn't do it. But the sacrifice meant I was moving back to Melbourne for 12, or it was, meant to be 12 months, doing long distance yet again with Jackson and making that decision. But to kind of move forward with my life, I feel like I had to close this chapter, and it was the most incredible year. It was the most hard year that I had been through in terms of being in the position I am with business, relationship, and that sort of stuff. So I knew it was something I had to do, and I lived with my coach who I'd been with since I was 7, and her kids who I've been there since the day they were born. So that was just really special and healing for me. And then to go back in the sport, and we ended up training obviously really, really hard. And in 4 months, we went to the World Cup and came out with another silver medal, turned a lot of heads, and a lot of coaches from, you know, Russia, Great Britain, all over were just like, where have you come from? And I was like, well, actually 6 years of retirement.
Yeah, that's where I've come from.
And the girls that I partnered with, I went into a trio, and they, like the work that they had put in prior. And one of the girls that I was with, my other base, I taught her when she was probably 7, 8 years old. Like I was her biggest idol growing up. And then to get to work with her was just crazy. And now we're like sisters. So it was really, really cool to go and do that, and obviously be back in the gym, and just be back in the gym as the version I am now. Going back into sport as an adult is wild. Yeah. I think you just have so much more self-awareness. I kind of went into it with my coaches being like, I know what my body needs now. I know how to kind of handle my body. If I need a day off, I'm going to take that. If I, you know, need certain things, I'm going to voice that. And we just worked so well as a team throughout the year that my coaches were shocked at how well my body could get through after 6 years off, being 25. Because the cap of the sport is probably early 20s.
Probably 25.
Yeah, which is crazy. So to go back after 6 years off and to really just, like, I shocked myself. Like I knew muscle memory was good and I kind of could do a lot of things, but just the things that came flooding back that I just didn't even think of was crazy. And then being a coach for the last 6 years, you just go back. I've forever respected my coaches, but you go back with so much more respect. And when they're giving you corrections, you're like, you're here to genuinely help me, which I always knew, but it's like when you've been a coach, it's such a different insight. So it was just really cool to go back and feel like I've completed that. It did get cut short because our Worlds date got moved back like by 5 months, which meant I would have been there nearly 2 years. And with the position of business and relationship, it just wasn't feasible. But fortunately enough, the girl I ended up replacing to have this opportunity, she was ready to come back in after her injury. So it did just somehow all work out. And it's still so surreal that it did work the way that it did. And I finished up in September 2025 at Nationals. And I was really curious how I was going to feel, like whether I was going to be, we're doing so well, we could go and medal at Worlds, which was, I guess, the pipe dream forever. And I sat there after Nationals in the awards, and little did I know I was pregnant at the time. And I was like, I feel so content. Like I've trained so hard. I've literally pushed more than I ever had, even back when I was 18. Like this experience has just felt like out of body and like a completely different person. And I just felt like I feel done. And I'm so happy that the girl that got injured could come back in, because I've been in her position with shoulder injuries. So to then watch her be able to get back in and then have her dream, because they're only 18, 19 and our top was 16. So I'm like, this is it. Like, this is my moment. And yeah, little did I know I was a week pregnant at that point. And like I said, you cannot write this story if I tried, because we weren't trying for kids. Weren't trying for a baby for another 2 years probably. But knowing that I'd always wanted to close that chapter before having kids, and then to close that chapter and fall pregnant is like...
It's divine timing.
Truly. So that's the story in a nutshell. Sorry, I feel like I just rambled.
I love that. I'm like, yes, we've just taken it from 7 to 25.
So now you can ask all your questions.
I love that.
I feel like I've just said it so many times, but yeah, it's been an insane journey, to be honest. Yeah.
What about acrobatics that drew you in? Like, was it because you were talented, or did you just love the experience of performing?
I wouldn't say I was extremely talented. I definitely know, like, when I remember my first session ever, and my coach was like, you've got something in you. And I think it was just the fire to learn. I was such an outgoing kid. Like, my mum's videoing from the stairs and I'm like throwing my arms up and I'm like, I've been in this place for 10 minutes. Like, I think just being able to have an outlet. I think growing up, I was kind of shut down by family about how loud I was or naughty. I was very naughty as a kid. So then to have a place where I could just be me was definitely the biggest thing. And that's why I stayed at my gym for as long as I did and would only ever go back to that gym in the opportunity that I had, because they've nurtured me from 7 years old, and it's been such a safe place. And I think just the performance element, 100%. I still love performing to this day. But I think just the uniqueness of the sport and like the opportunities it brings, it's crazy.
It's very, very cool. It's gymnastics and acrobatics. It's just so incredible to watch. I can't even imagine what it would feel like doing the thing. I'm like, that is insane.
Yeah, it's wild and I think because, like I said, my Instagram got hacked when I moved to the Gold Coast, so I never then really shared much about acro. So not a lot of people knew. So when I went back this year, they were like, where is this, like, how have you just gone and thrown someone on your leg whilst balancing on someone else's leg? So it was really cool to bring that aspect into my socials as what people know now, and kind of bring them along that journey was really cool, because it was a massive part of my life.
Yeah. And that's definitely what I want to sort of talk about is 7 years old is such a young age to start something. And then your whole story, like, I'm getting a lot of like resilience. Resilience is really coming up in this whole thing. But that's something that I don't know, did you get taught that? Like, was it just in you to just not quit? Like, how did that come about?
I think a bit of both.
Yeah.
I grew up around sport my whole life. My mum was a netballer, a swimmer. Like, her dad used to get up at 4 a.m. and swim. And so that, like, sporting mentality, athlete mentality has definitely come from my mum. My dad was a footballer as well. And I think just watching my mum, like, she went through so many adversities. She had 2 or 3 knee recos through netball. And I just watched how she showed up for herself, but also her team as well. So definitely learn a lot from her, and just being around sport for every weekend of my life, if not multiple days of the week. And then I think just because I found something I loved so much, I was like, nothing's getting in the way of this. So I definitely think a bit of both.
Yeah, I think about kids are super resilient, but kids are also very easy to sort of just drop off. Like you have one shoulder surgery and you sort of just decide, okay, that's not it, but you've come back. What were you sort of telling yourself? Like, do you think as a kid you even thought about long term? Were you just wanting to do the best right now?
I think early days I was like, I just love this. Like, this is so fun. I think once I broke my shoulder, like I said, I was only 10.
Yeah.
I don't think at that point I knew you could train for Worlds. I think it was very much just love for the sport. So I think that was just like, this is just a little stepping stone. I don't think I ever saw injuries, and maybe again that's come from my mum being like having those knee recos, and she just would go back. Like, it was never a question of should I not continue. So whether that was like a subconscious play on my mind as well, but I think for the first surgery it was just like, I love this. I'll do my rehab and I'll get back to it. The second time round, obviously that was a post missing Worlds the first time. So that was completely just like, I'm not done here yet. My job is not done and I'll do whatever it takes to get back. So yeah, it's interesting because like I haven't really reflected on those questions. So I'm like, definitely a lot has come from my mum, I would say.
It's, the athlete mentality, when you have that as a kid, it takes you so far in life. I think about acrobatics. I was thinking about this today because I went rock climbing this morning, and I'm very new to this. Like, climbing is so weird, but it's the same sort of thing that you are like practicing a move that you often won't get. So I think like your relationship with failure must be so different to a lot of other people. I look at you and I think, okay, you take risks now. Like, I see you're quite creative, you're doing a lot of things, and I would sort of correlate your relationship with failure being like, oh, it's just like,
it's like my best friend.
Yeah, you have to get used to it.
Yeah.
Did that develop over time? Like, I'm assuming as a kid, was it annoying things not going well?
Of course, some aspect, yes. But I don't remember being like, oh, well, I failed, that's it. And I think the first potentially World Championships, when we had that fall in the first 10 seconds of our routine, first 10 seconds of being on the floor at the World Championships, I think to quote unquote fail in that first 10 seconds, but never in that moment was I like, we can't keep going. Like, I literally looked at my partner, you're not meant to talk in your routine. Everyone does anyway. I was like, you got this. And she even said after the routine, I thought you were done. Like, I thought you were so disappointed in me. She was disappointed in herself. And so until I said that, she was like, oh, I was ready to give up.
Wow.
But then she was like, she saw in me that I was like, oh, we still got this. And as much as I spent the next whole entire night crying on the phone to my coach, I never look at fail as, I guess, failure, because I wouldn't be where I am without it. And I've had so many times of quote unquote failure where it's brought me to like the next big stepping stone. So now I think because I had so many of those adversities, Lily and I talk about this all the time, like, we look for failure because it just means you're going to get through it, and then you're going to not have that happen again, hopefully in the future, in whatever it is that you're going through. And failure can be scary. I think a lot of people are scared of it, but I think it's great, which is a weird relationship to have with it. But I think it's when you look back, you're like, I would not be where I am without failing all those times.
And you can only learn through failure. Like, it's the only way to learn, especially when you're doing something that's so physical. Like, you have to learn, okay, if my arm doesn't go here and it goes here, someone's going to fall. Okay, cool. You'll do it once and you'll notice, and then you're like, well, we're not going to do that again.
Yep, definitely.
But it's such a different thing when it's like a physical failure. Like, you guys are going out and potentially can hurt yourself, whereas a lot of people are afraid of, failing. The things we get afraid for failing is like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
When you then went back onto the mat, did you have self-doubt? Did you hold yourself back, or were you able to sort of just pretend that yesterday didn't happen?
I think it was like, this is a fresh new day, and our second routine was definitely our strongest. And it's hard to remember, like, it was obviously over 10 years ago now, but I think I don't even remember, but I definitely don't remember. I was scared, nervous, of course, but I felt so much more confident in that routine, and we were just like, we're going to go out and give it our all. And I think what I remembered at Worlds from when I broke my shoulder was, funnily enough, in that competition when I was 10, our first routine screwed up every single skill. And so I went out into the second one. I was like, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to just throw everything into it. And I just went full steam ahead. The first 10 seconds of that routine, I gave way too much in the first skill, over-rotated. That's when I landed on my shoulder. So what I learnt from that and taking that into Worlds the second day after having that fall was like, going to give it my all, but reserved and be smart. And I think like our coaches would drill that in, like, yes, go out there and don't do anything you haven't trained for, because the last month of training leading into Worlds was quite literally perfect. And so it was like control the nerves. And one of this coach from America used to come up and say, keep the nerves below your heart, because you can let them, play around in your belly, but as soon as you get them above your heart, they take over. And that's just like stuck with me since then. And so we were just like breathing side stage, like trust each other and make it happen. And it was like the pitch perfect routine, which is
love that.
Really nice.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I used to do high jump, and I was like doing flop one day and I knocked the bar and I landed on my back. And that was the end of my high jumping forever. It freaked me out and spooked me, and it was obviously not really the thing that I was really destined to do, but it really did, like that failure, it knocked me off my course and I never really did it again. So it's really, really cool to hear that like you can have that and you can kind of talk your way out of it. But I love keep the nerves below your heart, because same with like bodybuilders listening to this, like the posing, when getting on stage, people are like, I'm so nervous.
And like they're shaking, and you have to be so still.
Yes.
It's the same for us in our like balance skills. You have to hold your skills for 3 seconds. If you're balancing on one arm on someone else's one arm, if you're moving, like it's not, you're getting not disqualified, but you're getting points taken off for that. And it's the same. I remember when Lil was posing and she was like, I'm so nervous. I feel like I'm shaking. And you can't necessarily see it from the judge's seat, but it's like if you can control those nerves and not let them take over, you'll also feel so much more relaxed on stage as well.
Yeah, 100%. I just tell everybody, like, picture the nerves as excitement. You just have to tell it to yourself a couple times. I'm just excited. I'm just excited. And see
nerves is a good thing. Absolutely. I think people look at it as like a negative thing, but it is. Nerves means you're excited. Nerves means you're passionate about something, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And I guess just like reframing nerves, reframing failure. Like I guess as athletes, you just got to go through your whole life reframing these things and not really taking anything too literally, because we have to be resilient and kind of move on. So you were 18, things started to probably then change. Was your identity still really heavily tied to being a good athlete at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I coming home from Worlds was actually just what happened? I came home from Worlds and we were having some time off because we'd had done like a massive minimum 12 months of training. And I had obviously just turned 18 before Worlds, and I was like, I'm allowed to have a bit of fun. So I started to like go out with some friends and like drink a little bit. And I think I got carried away with it. I was not hanging around the best people, and I'd gone through the breakup post-Worlds, so I was just not in a great state mentally. And then I got really unwell and ended up being diagnosed. I had tonsillitis, glandular fever, appendicitis.
Oh,
all in one.
3.
Yeah. I love to do things in 3. And so basically was straight into hospital, had my appendix removed, and I decided to go off the pill that weekend. So I was on the pill for 2 years prior. And I just was like, I think my body needs a break. And I think the pill ruined everything. I'm going to be completely honest. I talk about this all the time on my podcast. But I had no issues on the pill. It was coming off the pill. Completely ruined me. I gained 10 kilos in 6 weeks. And from the appendix surgery, like recovery was quite intense. Like you can't really move much for a good 6 weeks. You can't lift anything heavier than 5 kilos. My mum had shortly gone away overseas for like 2 months, I think, after my surgery. Like the timing was shit. My brother was living with me at the time and my cousins moved in as well. So they were like looking after me, but I was just not well. And like it wasn't my cousin and my brother's job to be like, don't eat this, don't do that. Like I was 18, like I'm an adult now. I can look after myself, but I was not well. And I just was way too afraid to admit that. And I think back then, mental health was still very taboo and very not spoken about, frowned upon. And so I just kept it internally for a very long time. I was eating horribly, and I grew up to know very much about nutrition from my mum. I ate very well a lot of my life until this stage, eating my feelings away. And so, yeah, then I broke out in all this acne, and I think I was out of the gym for, I'm going to say 8 to 10 weeks. And I remember the first day I had to walk back in there, I was terrified because I had just come back from Worlds, done so well, was the leanest I'd ever been, so fit, the mentor of the gym. And then I had to walk back in 10 kilos heavier, face full of acne, like completely lost in myself, had no idea who I was. Like it was terrifying to walk into like my safe place and not feel safe anymore. So to navigate that at 18, my mum was away and I'm internalizing every thought that I'm having, led to a really dark place and did go through a lot of like suicidal ideation, and it was very dark, like very, very dark. And I think going through that breakup, we'd been together 6 years. He did acro as well. So we just had so much in common. And just to have like all these things ripped away from you was just terrifying. And so I spent a lot of time alone because I was too afraid to leave the house because of my acne or my weight or, just terrified of the world, basically terrified of myself because I didn't know who I was or what was going on. And slowly kind of started to, I feel like I had a really bad night, and that's when my ex reached out to my mum. And that's when she was kind of like, what's going on? And that's kind of when I knew I had to speak up. And something in me was just like, you are destined for more. This is shit. You're at the bottom, but there's so much more to come. Like if you can get yourself through this, you'll be so grateful that you did. And I just felt like there was this light at the end of the tunnel, and it was a long tunnel that I had to go through. But I think everything that I do now within socials, within my work, within who I am and what I want to do is because of that long tunnel. So very grateful, but I just think that was the hardest period of my life yet. Yeah. From probably 18 to I would say 21 was just a massive transformation, which not a lot of 18-year-olds would go through.
No, not at all. At such a young age. And I think the identity shift, having a surgery at any time when you're a child is actually a really big deal.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Being sick is a whole big deal, and managing just changing your identity. And I'm resonating with what you're saying about you came back into the gym heavier, different. And I can imagine that would have been really daunting. Can you pinpoint things that you thought about yourself? Like were you judging yourself, hating yourself, or were you more judging the situation?
All of it. I hated everything. I hated that the pill had done this to me, but I didn't really pinpoint that it was the pill at that point, but I just was like, I've let myself go. I was very disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
Because the way that I was acting wasn't me. The way that I was hiding everything wasn't me. I was hating my body, my skin, and I've always been a confident kid. Like you could ask my mum, like I would go and talk to anyone and put myself out there. So then to just not recognize myself, and the acne killed me.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the hardest journeys I've been on. And I feel like the weight you could, wear baggy clothes and kind of sort of cover it up, but even my face was just so inflamed and puffy, and 10 kilos of extra weight plus inflammation. And then when you break out in acne, it's more inflamed because it's red and it's sore and you're picking and all the things. I think just like, I hated everything. I hated the situation. I hated what I did to myself. I hated that my mum wasn't there at the time. I hated that I couldn't speak to anyone because I was too scared to tell anyone. So that's why I feel like mental health is a massive part of what I did beyond that as well.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody listening who's going through a similar thing, whether or not they're young or old, that like can't train, they've sort of lost their identity? What could you have anchored to that could have possibly helped?
Speak up. I think the second I did it, the second I was able to, not that I'd told everything straight away, but just to have someone listen to like how you're feeling. And I think that's what led me to being so open on socials now, is because even going through pregnancy now, it's probably the second hardest journey I've gone through with this sickness, and thinking I was going to love pregnancy to low-key hating it. Something that's kept me going is being able to now share it online, and so many people relating, being like, everyone just shares the highlights and the glowiness of pregnancy. I'm like, I do not feel that. Sorry, guys, acid reflux always comes up. But definitely speaking up changed everything. And just being able to have people hear you out and speak your feelings, and then hear that people are going through the same. I think when you're going through mental health, especially years ago when it was so frowned upon, you think you're so alone because you're like, no one else is going through this. Like, how can I be going through this? No one's going to understand, until you speak up and you're like, oh my God, like I'm not alone. And I think that's the biggest thing through anxiety, depression, is knowing you're not alone. Excuse me. But it was a slow turning the page on like telling more people and having more people in your corner. Because I think, and it doesn't have to be friends, family. I feel like a lot of people have come to me like, I don't have friends and family to tell. Like, I'm like, my DM's open. You can talk to me anytime. There's so many people online that you can reach out to, hotlines, all the things. But just to have someone in your corner is super beneficial.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that. I'm actually thinking about when I first met you, I was going through a really bad acne period, given mine was for completely different reasons, and mine was when I was 26. It was horrible.
Acne sucks.
Yeah. But I remember you sharing it, and I actually have a really vivid memory of, really weird that I even was thinking this, but I have a really vivid memory of being like, if Jackson can love you through your acne, Callum will love me through mine. Because I was like, how Callum is not going to want to stay with me. I look disgusting. I hate myself. And I was also a bad part of like, I was a shell of my own self, and you would agree. But I remember thinking like, well, Jackson stayed with Tori and she had almost worse acne than me, which is such a terrible comparison.
No, but I get it. I really get it.
Yeah, and I'm grateful because, I don't even know what I would have thought if I didn't have you as a shining light, because not many people post about their acne. Nobody's posting photos of their acne.
Yeah.
To see you and to see that you had a loving partner who still loved you made me go,
that was
okay.
like a really hard time. Like, I can completely relate. Like, I was the same. I used to say to him, like, why are you with me?
Yeah.
I'm like, he was a PT back then. I'm like, you PT all these hot girls and you're with me who's overweight with acne. Like, why? And it's so incredibly hard. And I think I spoke about that a few times, but it's just like, it doesn't change anything inside you. Like, he loves you because your personality, your drive, your passion, like for who you are. And since the day that I met him, he's like, my favorite thing about you is your smile. And I used to like try and cover my face all the time, which I'm sure you'd understand. But it's so hard.
Yeah. How did you navigate then? So you were on social media at the time. Were you finding it easier posting about it, or was it pretty hard too at the start?
At the start, it was hard because I tried to hide from it for so long. Yeah. But then it didn't take long to see the response that you get from it. And acne is so common. Like, whether you are just getting breakouts around your cycle, whether you're fully broken out because your hormones are out of whack, like, it is so common. And I guess I'm grateful I didn't have it through school, because I couldn't even imagine what it would have been like going through school, especially I'd say in our generation, where it was like I would have kids that I would teach. They'd be like, why do you have spots on your face? Like, kids have no filter, and I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. You'll understand one day maybe. Like, but I think just having that community and being like, well, I'm not alone. Like, it's kind of not normal to have acne because it does indicate something's going on, but I'm not alone in it. And I think the more that if I was having a hard day, sharing it made it better, because people were like, oh my God, I feel the same today. I don't want to leave the house. I canceled plans with my girlfriend. Like, it was just nice to be like, oh, cool. And I think another thing too is when I shared so much of it, if I met someone out in public, I then wasn't afraid, because I'm like, oh, well, I have acne kind of thing. And I guess you might be similar, is when I go out and I see people with acne not wearing makeup, I just want to go up and be like, you look amazing. Because like, I was always scared to for so long. And then I hated wearing makeup because it like exacerbates the acne. And then I always like say some girl walks past and I'll be like, oh my God, her skin is gorgeous. It's so clear and glowing. Like, and then Lily's like, I didn't even notice that. I looked at her hair because Lily's had insecurities with her hair. And I'm like, you notice what you're insecure about. So then when I had that realization, I was like, wow, like probably not a lot of people are looking at my skin.
Yes. The skin is a funny thing because you can feel it. Like when it's inflamed, it hurts.
Yeah.
So like when it hurts, you also can be really hypersensitive to it. But I agree. I remember somebody said to me one day, like, do you look and judge other people for their acne? Like, do you really even notice when you're talking to someone? And I was like, well, actually not really. So they're probably not actually really noticing mine. But you would almost make it worse by when I had like a posing client on like FaceTime, I would try and like lean so both my hands were covering my face. I'm like, that's only drawing more attention to
it. Or if like I was sitting and talking to someone in the sun, like if the sun was on my face, I would move because I'm like, that just makes it look so much worse. And it's so draining, so draining. And it just went on for so long. But again, it's like taught me so much. And it's taught me to love myself, which I don't think I would have gone through if I didn't go through acne.
Yeah. Even when I was going through it, like thinking about scarring, I was terrified. I was like, I'm going to have acne scars. And now I do have a few and you have a few too. And I actually don't mind them. Like I'm like, this is me. Like this is a part of me. Yeah. It's wild, but it's one of those things that I feel like when you're going through, you just want it to be over. Yeah. And I mean, that's any hardship. And then we can realize there's lessons, right? What was the first steps then? Okay, so we're trying to get through the acne. What were the first things that started to like work? Where were you starting to feel like yourself again? You're like, I tried every single thing under the sun.
I'm like, you name it, I tried it. Okay, the first thing we're talking skin or kind of the whole thing?
In general.
The first thing that helped me with all of it was celery juice, which is crazy.
Love that.
But when I'd moved to Adelaide, my mum had been a fan of celery juice for a while and she tried to get me on it. I was like, absolutely not. But then I was like at wit's end. I would literally try anything. So I committed to doing celery juice every day for a year. And the difference in my skin in that year was astronomical. But not only my skin, my gut, my hormones. That was the kind of year I started with Jackson and we were like, right, this is the fitness plan. And when I went to him and we started training, I was working at F45 early in the morning. Then I'd go back and do the lunchtime class. Then I would train at 2:00 at my acro gym for an hour, do weights, then have a break and train for 4 hours. Because I was like, the more I train, the more I'll lose weight.
You also have been brought up like gymnastic kids are fucking insane. Like 5 hours a day or whatever it is.
That's normal.
That's insane. Yeah. So you also probably had that mindset of like, more.
And it just became like my 4 hours of training at night was like, oh, well, that's just routine. Like, that's fine. Like, what else can I do? So I'm like, let's do an F45 class and let's do an hour of weights. Sure. And then my mum was very much growing up in a generation of like, eat less, lose more weight. So I'm like, eat less, train more. Perfect. How hard can I go?
Winning combo.
And what happened? I just gained more weight because my body's like in absolute survival mode, holding on to every little calorie that I'm giving it, which wasn't much. So when I moved to Adelaide and I told Jackson what my schedule had been, what I was eating, he was like, are you crazy? I was like, why? Like, this is what you're meant to do, right? To lose weight. And to go and completely reverse that. And he basically was like, we're dropping all your training. You're doing 3 or 4 weight sessions a week for 45 minutes max. You're going to aim for 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And I'd never focused on steps. And we're going to be upping your calories like every single week. I was like, this is terrifying. I'm going to gain so much weight. And I think I was so over trying at that point. I was like, whatever you say, I'm going to do. And I feel like I just let go of all ounce of control. And I was like, it's in your hands. I'm just going to listen. And in that 12 months, I lost like 10 kilos and was like, holy shit, like I'm getting myself back. And so just like having a good coach, I feel like was really beneficial because I was just going off either online or what my mum was saying. And like, bless her, she was trying to help me from what she knew as a PT and kind of what she grew up learning. But just to go qualified, educated coach who wanted to help. And then following the plan, being consistent. Celery juice was amazing. So for that 12 months, it was like, let's just do this plan. And I felt so good after. And then I think I just got to a place probably right before I moved to Queensland, where everything felt so much easier. Like the gym routine was consistent, eating well felt normal again. I didn't have those like binging moments where I just would have all the time because I would restrict so much. So once I moved to the Gold Coast, which then Jackson and I did long distance, I feel like I had so much control again over food, over training, and I enjoyed it again, which was so nice. And then I started seeing a naturopath because my gut was all over the place. So really just focused on whatever her plan was. We did blood tests, we did gut microbiomes, did all the tests that he can think of, and really just, again, let go of control, trusted her. I did go vegan for a little bit, which I think just helped reset like the gut and the relationship with food, because Jackson was vegan as well for 5 years and we ate so well. And then I think it just was the reset I needed because I was binging so much. And then when I moved to the Gold Coast, my naturopath was like, all right, it's time to like introduce some meats for the sake of hormones, your period and all the things. So I started to introduce meat again at that point. And it's just grown gradually since 2021 that I've just gained more confidence with myself, my trust in myself with my food, and just learning to listen to my body. Whereas now I fully, obviously now being pregnant, but prior to that, like fully intuitive eating, intuitive training. Prior to doing acro, it was like Pilates when I wanted to, gym when I wanted to, and got like the strongest I'd ever been. And then going back to acro, like I was able to go as hard as I did because I'd done all that work, and I was able to understand how to fuel my body to train, and like eating more than I ever have, but was as lean as I ever have at 25 versus 16 when I was super lean, but like low-key unhealthy. And so just to have those different experiences after like taking all your knowledge back to that was incredible. And then to try and pass it on to the other kids at the gym, be like, what you eat is going to fuel your performance and your training, and having that like experience firsthand, be like, I trained and ate like this, and now I eat like this and I train like this. And they're like, oh, okay, I get it. And you just like, you realize how important all the basics that come together to make like the final picture.
Yeah, that foundational understanding, and everyone has to go through it to learn it. Then your mental health, your confidence, do you think that that was just like linear with the health? Did your mental health and your confidence get better, or was it like a result from being healthier, or the other way around?
I would say the confidence grew as I started to, you know, lose that little bit of weight, feel confident in my skin again. I would say the mental health was definitely a roller coaster, mostly because of the acne. I feel like I got to a really great place physically, like felt, you know, leaner again and like lost all that weight, and everyone was like, you look incredible. But if I had a bad acne day, everyone was going to know about it. I was going to be cancelling plans. I was crying. And I would say from 2022, I think was like a pretty good year for my skin. 2023, 2024, the worst it ever been. Like it just completely flipped a switch. I don't know what I did or didn't do to make that happen, but it's just, again, I tried everything. I was seeing naturopaths and skin ladies in America paying thousands of dollars to just get the best of what I could. And I think it was just so much effort that it was like so much stress, and the stress was just killing me. And I honestly, it's so annoying because I can't even be like, this is what happened. But I swear in 2024, something shifted the back end of 2024, and my skin just started to clear. And I do think a lot of it was stress. One thing I will pinpoint is we went to Bali, Jackson and I, October of 2024. And I said, I'm going to go to Bali. I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to eat dairy. I'm going to eat gluten. I'm going to have that donut, ice cream. I was like, let's just try and see what happens. Obviously, Bali, like, should have been a little bit more careful because I got sick. But I just wanted to, like, heal that relationship. So I just was like, cool, Jackson, we're eating everything and anything. The way that trip healed me, because my skin was, it broke out, but I wasn't angry about it and then stressed about that pimple. Like, I was like, oh, whatever. I just felt so calm. And so coming back from Bali, I was like, I'm going to bring that home with me.
Yeah.
And then that moment I realized the way that I was eating was, and not eating and restricting certain foods, and like the fear of gluten and dairy was causing more breakouts than the gluten and dairy itself. And so when I came to that realization, I was like, right, we need to work on the relationship with that food, not specifically that's the cause of your skin. I swear it changed everything.
Yeah.
And so going into last year, I just kind of let everything go. I was like, I took a break from supplements. I was like, let's just eat to feel good, practice what I'm telling myself, because I'd be like having chocolate, man, I'm going to break out. I'm going to break out, and just keep eating it. Of course you're going to freaking break out because you're telling yourself that. So then eating chocolate, being like, I deserve this. I'm worthy. I'm okay. Like having to say that every time I eat chocolate sounds a lot, but it's what you have to do to heal that.
Yeah.
And that like little buzzy in your head that's coming up with these sayings with certain foods. And then going into like back to acro where I'm training minimum 20 hours a week again, I was like, oh, like don't know how it's going to go. Like I feel like my body's going to feel the stress. My skin was the best it's ever been last year. And everyone was like confused. Like all my friends were like, wait, how does this work? I'm like, I honestly think because I just let everything go. I let go of the control. I wasn't overindulging on gluten and dairy, but I was having the gluten bagels and eating what felt good, fueling for training. I don't think at any point I was under eating. Like I had to track calories just so I ate enough, and like Lily was onto me for that, for the amount I was like putting out in my energy. And since then, falling pregnant, the hormones, like apparently pregnancy fixes everything. So I'm like, I'll take it. But I think last year, just even if my skin broke out, I was like, oh, it didn't affect me. Like I wasn't on the bathroom floor crying or being like, I can't come to training. Like it just, and I was training with 16, 17, 18-year-olds with beautiful skin. Like no one at the gym had acne like I did, and no one ever commented on it. No one ever cared. Like they loved me for me, and I never, like I hate training with makeup on. So I was like, I don't need to cover it up. If I have a breakout, it is what it is. And I think just letting go of that stress, which is so annoying because like anyone that said stress less, you're like, oh my God, it's aggravating, but it is true.
Yeah, you've got to surrender. And I think what you focus on grows. Like where you put your energy is where it's going to manifest. And sometimes when it's with inflammation or skin health or gut health, the more that you do, the more that you stress, the more that you freak out, the worse it does become. One thing that I was very adamant, and I think that was probably because I saw people like you going through it, and I was like, this so much. When I started to get really bad acne, I said, I'm not going to do any crazy skincare, no supplements, like nothing. I'm just going to like let it ride its course and figure out the root cause. But I feel like, the constant changing of skin products and all of this, it does.
And it's like, it doesn't work for a week. Oh, change it. Of course it's not going to work in a week. Even this morning I was doing my makeup for this podcast, and I had one, and I haven't really had any breakouts recently. And I had one, and I was like, that's a bit rude. And I did my makeup and moved on.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, I think you just learn how to navigate it, and you kind of have to. You don't really have a choice.
I think it's really important for people listening, like I'm thinking about even with like eating disorders and everything, like this fear, and it festers. We get really, really like caught up in like overthinking, and then it festering, and then it getting worse and worse and worse. And it's really just surrendering and sort of letting go of the fear and of the stress and the getting so wound up about like, I'm going to have acne forever. Like that is also going to cause a lot of stress. And I see the same with bodybuilders who go through like the disordered eating, and people being like, this cookie's going to like make me fat. And of course it's going to, it's not, the cookie's not going to make you fat, but like if you keep telling yourself that, you're going to have more cookies, because then you're going to self-sabotage, and then you are going to get fat. So it's like just sort of having everything as neutral, I guess. Did the fear around gluten and dairy, did you just have to sort of prove it to yourself that like, if it does affect me, whatever, and most of the time it probably didn't affect you?
It was a process, but I really had to focus on that self-talk when I was eating it, because I would have like a piece of chocolate and not think of anything, but if I had full cream milk, literally outburst, crying, freaking out. I don't know what it was about full cream milk. Now I have it every day. And I think as well, when I got pregnant, as Jackson and I were just trying to like limit the unnecessary crap. Like there's so much crap in nut milks and things like that. And he's like, let's just go full cream. I was like, yeah, cool. Haven't had an issue with it. And I think it's just like a slow burn. So a lot of the time I had vegan chocolate, but even sometimes that would break me out. And so just trying to like experiment with it. And I've done a lot of work on my gut. So I think that was obviously played a massive role in that. I had multiple different bacteria. So to clear those out is obviously going to play a role. It wasn't just self-talk. But I do think the stress, controlled a lot of it. So then when I could get on top of that, and stress is something that is probably going to change week to week, month to month, that you have to learn to navigate. When you might feel stressed about this thing, you kind of learn how to work through it. Then something else pops up and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm stressed again. It's like, okay, how do we navigate this? And then you learn yourself. You learn more about yourself and how to navigate each situation differently.
Yeah. So tell me about like building your dream life. Like you've kind of moved to the Gold Coast then. I want to sort of tie us up in the knot.
Yeah.
You have the podcast, you have social media. What do you think the acrobatics, do you say acrobatics?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think acrobatics taught you that's made you be so successful in all the other things? Like resilience, obviously.
Yeah. That's such a good question. I think resilience would probably be number one. And if you're passionate about something enough, you're going to chase it. And I think learning that from 7 years old, I just remember being like, the first day, I'm going to do this. Mum, cancel every other sport. This is what I'm doing.
Clear my roster.
Clear the schedule. I'm doing this. And even when I wanted to leave school, my parents were like, my dad didn't really have much of a say because he lived in Perth. And my mum just copped the brunt of every single day not waking up. But if I had to wake up at 6 a.m. for acro, I'd be up at 5, don't worry. And I think just learning like having such passion for something is going to override so many things. And also learning that I didn't do it because I got paid great money. I think you look at like a lot of AFL players, if they weren't getting the wage they were, they would not be there. Yeah. Whereas you look at acrobats, bodybuilders, even sprinters, like there's so many sports, they do it because they love it. And I think that is huge. Like I'm not out here doing acro 25 hours a week because I'm getting a great paycheck. I'm losing my house deposit, if anything. I sacrificed a lot last year financially. I took 55 flights because I had to do it for the little 7-year-old that just loved this sport so much, and it was the most healing thing. So I think bringing that into life, being like, it's been a blessing and a curse, because if I'm not passionate, I'm like, oh, see you later, I don't want to do it. I won't waste time on it. But I think if you can find that passion in a side project, in something you want to build, you're going to go so much further in it than doing something for money or anything like that. So I think that paired with resilience would probably be the main two.
I love that. And what an epic journey to have found that at 7, to be able to go through everything you've gone through, have the break, and then be able to close the loop and then take all those lessons and also find other things that you're super passionate about. Like that is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's props to you as well though, because you also have to work really hard at that. Like to stay passionate in something, you have to keep working. Mm-hmm. Like it's not just going to fall in your lap and then you're going to stay passionate and everything's going to work out. You've still got to give your all and you've got to see improvements and work hard. And I think that's really cool. Like I see a lot of hard work behind the passion, which is also very cool.
Yeah, it is very interesting because I think even when I went back last year, like it wasn't just, of course it was chasing a medal and like I wanted to finish it that way, but it was regardless if I'd gotten a medal or not, it was the icing on the cake for sure. But I was just so happy I could go back and just heal relationships, heal the ending with my sport that I'd always seen for myself. And then you're like, oh, how do I bring that feeling into like every single day? And now I feel like it's going to come with Bub. So
yeah, well, that is crazy. Well, how exciting. And so when are you giving birth? Well,
I'm due end of June.
Okay, exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the little winter baby.
I know. I'm so like timed it perfectly, I will say.
Yeah. That is
unintentionally,
good.
Obviously.
You timed it perfect because you've got your besties.
Yeah.
Everything just worked out so well.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. The whole divine timing. You finished this whole acro journey. Mm-hmm. You've done all the work on your mental health and you're in a really, really good place. And then to be able to then bring this whole new chapter of having a baby in.
Going from elite athlete to pregnant is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's like really opposite sides of the spectrum, but it's
think
another
it's
challenge.
Cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
And I had Lauren Simpson on the pod, and she is an incredible mum.
Yeah.
And still an incredible athlete. Emily King, all of these incredible people who have had babies and still been incredible. And you who knows where your whole life is going to take you.
I almost feel like it's been awesome, but I'm like, I'm just getting started. I feel like I see so many mums, they're like, I'm the fittest I've ever been, and they've had 2 kids. And I'm just like, I don't know what it is. I'm so excited for postpartum because I think I'm no longer training for a medal, or I'm not training for that like sporting goal. It's like I'm training for me and to get back, and like maybe I'll get back and do a high rocks, who knows? But it's like this challenge is going to be so crazy to experience not only pregnancy and birth and to birth our child, but then to go through a different fitness journey I'm really excited about.
Yeah, well, High Rocks 2028, watch out.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll get into running because it's just not been my thing, but
who knows?
Never say never.
Well, the world is your oyster, my girl.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Such a good chat. I've learned so much about acro and everything. If people want to follow acro, where can they watch it? Where is this?
It is very hard because it's not, Australia don't love to put it out there, but there is a page, I think it's called Acro 2032. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. They're basically trying to get acro into the Olympics. It's been our goal forever, but basically trying to get it in for the Brisbane Olympics. We have been in the Youth Olympics once, and it was like one specific age group and like pairing, but now they're really pushing for the Olympics. Don't know if it'll happen, but we can hope. So if you want to go follow that page, and like you'll basically see all of Australia posting everything that's happening.
Very cool.
Trying to get it in. So we'll see.
That's amazing. And everyone knows where to find you. Torisstory.
Torisstory. Yeah.
Follow along the pregnancy now. It's so exciting. But yeah, guys, if you loved this episode, please share it with somebody that you think will love to hear Tori's story. Love that. Actually, final note, I, for so long, didn't know what your last name was. I thought it was Story.
So many people do. Which I'm not mad about. I don't love my last name. So once Jackson and I get married, I'm like switching that up. But yeah, Torisstory, it actually came from when I was little. My parents used to say, Tori, tell us a story.
Oh.
And then I just loved like Sarah's Day. Like I loved that. Like it was just so cool. Like it was so catchy. And I was like, what can mine be? And then Torisstory just
so good.
It works.
It sticks.
Yeah.
It's such a vibe. And I love it. But thank you so much. I'll talk to everyone in the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.